also missed it or can't join today will be able to see it afterwards. Right. Then to the three of us, Manuel and Shiva and me are 3 Agile coaches from different companies. And we came up with the idea of the Agile Breakfast back a few years ago when we were all still working for Flixbus, and we were like, hey, this is actually a nice thing to like keep going. So we continued it, and we share bits and pieces to make you hungry for more. And as already mentioned at the beginning, what Manuel said, if there's any topic you'd like us to prepare, we're happy to do that. And if there's any help you might need, please be our guest and work with us together if you want. And we'll see what we can do to help each other.
All right. So I guess we're jumping into our first question for today. And this question can be answered by all of you on Menti. Manuel, would you be sharing your screen for this?
I'm sharing the screen. You can share the link to Menti, so people can immediately.
So what we're trying to do is make this more
just edit the chat.
Wonderful.
So because we were thinking, right, this is about turbocharge your Scrum team. You want to make it better, you want to make it faster, you want to make it more effective. And then we say, okay, let's get started asking people and sharing here, what do you think that makes your Scrum team more effective, right? What are the things that your team needs to be more effective? So we open this. You have the code there on the screen. I think you can see my screen, right? And you can start dropping your ideas. Okay, we have some things here already. Shiva, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay.
So I see Scrum Master, good environment, short meetings. That's interesting. Kaizen. Okay. Healthy conflicts. That's already a great start. Trust. And interestingly, that's right in the middle. Communication, collaboration. I see communication again. Inspect and adapt. Time management. Transparency. Okay. A lot of stuff that we generally talk about. Empathy. Continuous feedback.
Interesting. So many different things, huh? But
I know.
Yeah, I like trust that somehow goes in the center, and everything goes around it just by chance. But that's interesting.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and this sets up the stage so well to what we want to share with you as well. So do we just get into those as well, Manuel?
Yeah, let's go back. I'm going to stop sharing. We can go back to you.
All right. So what we wanted to do is basically, I mean, we've been talking about this for quite some time, but what's really interesting is that there's been a lot of research that's been done on Scrum teams. So we got hold of this research paper by Professor Daniel Russo and Christiaan. They've been doing research based on 1,200 Scrum teams, and they started really asking questions about the same thing. You know, what is it that makes your Scrum teams effective? And they said, what's an effective Scrum team? So an effective Scrum team is probably one that satisfies the external needs, the needs of your stakeholders, and the one that satisfies the internal needs. That is basically your team is at high morale while actually satisfying your stakeholder. And very interesting is what really came as an outcome from this research is very similar to what we've been saying all the time. So it's very intuitive. But now what we are also saying is it's scientifically proven. So, and that's why it's very interesting to really talk about it. So we see 5 factors, basically that kind of enhances your Scrum teams. So the whole conversation today is going to be about these 5 factors, and what can we do to increase these factors in our teams.
Yeah.
Any questions, or shall we just move on? So we have responsiveness, stakeholder concern, management support, continuous improvement, and team autonomy. All of that leading to higher team morale and stakeholder satisfaction. All
Great.
right.
Let's jump to the first one and see what is this about.
Yeah. So what we said we're going to be doing is quickly talk about what each factor is. What does the research say? And then quickly we're going to share our experiences about what this means to us, and probably a couple of techniques that you can do to increase this factor in your teams. So responsiveness, in a nutshell, it's about the capability of your team to deliver, right? So releasing every sprint even faster, that'll be great. That's what responsiveness is all about. How quickly can we deliver to the needs of our stakeholders? It's very interesting that the research findings say that this is probably the most important of all factors. So if you're not releasing as frequently, or if you're not actually delivering to your stakeholders as quickly or as much as you can, then it doesn't matter how good the other factors are. You don't score so well on effectiveness. So this seems to be the single most important factor that we talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Manuel.
No, yes, I was thinking how I totally agree on how I've seen this in my past experience, right? How I've seen this as the key for everything that comes after. Kind of, I was happy to see, let's say, this one as the most important to make your Scrum team more effective, because it was kind of validating my experience. So I was happy. Okay, my experience somehow is in line to what is found on this research, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it's an approach that both I and Manuel take, is that when we start with new teams, one of the things that we really focus on is to make sure that we have reviews with your stakeholders and improve them, because of exactly this, because we feel that this is probably the most important thing to be focusing on. And when this changes, probably everything else changes.
Yeah, and it's not only about the team, but also about the technology, right? So it really needs to be easy to release, right? So you could say to the team, hey, just press the button and get it live. And also about like having a fair mindset and saying, hey, we know like when things are done and when we want to release them. So if you have a great definition of done, then it's easier for the team to say, oh yeah, we're all sure and feel safe about the release, and not saying, oh, is it tested? Is it not tested? Is it like, well integrated into all the other features? And are we like trusting that the system will work, or will it break, or whatsoever? So it's also a lot about the technology and how easy it is for teams to, easily release.
We were thinking, okay, fine, this is the most important, right? We understand your team needs to release something every sprint, even small, right? But what you can do to help your Scrum team to achieve this, right? I put on the first place learn and use slicing techniques, because I've seen many product owners in my life that they don't really explore this area, let's say, and they could better use slicing techniques to deliver, to have a team delivering something small every sprint, right? So I would say, if you want to make your team more effective, you really need to go there first, in my opinion here, right? Learn and go to use really slicing techniques, and that would be my first place to explore if you want to get your team more responsiveness, right? That's what I was thinking. That's I always see product owners struggling with this topic.
Yeah, interestingly, I had this team. They work with a lot of business stakeholders, and they do reports for them. And generally, it's so difficult for us to slice things when you're doing reporting. But this team does it so well, where they say, okay, they ask the stakeholders for the requirements, and they give you a big list generally, and it's a whole lot of fancy graphs and everything. And then they say, yeah, this is great, this is going to take us a month. Okay, tell me what's out of all of this, what's the most important thing for you, something that is going to change, you're spending a lot of time doing, something that you really want us to do probably next week. And they zero down on one or two things, and they say, okay, we're going to give you this, you're going to start using it next week, then let's start building the rest of it. And generally what you see is that what you started with initially on 20 things that you need as a dashboard, probably you need only 10, and you're giving this to them in 2 or 3 weeks time instead of a couple of months. I really liked how that worked.
Yeah. And there's a lot about communication, right? Because I also can understand stakeholders having a dream, let's say, oh, I want this report with all these details, this fancy, nice graphics and diagrams here. And then they think, okay, don't bother me with this horrible small Excel file that you're creating halfway. Just call me when everything is done. And I think there's a lot about communication and explaining this way of working, right? And explaining we are going to keep giving you some things, but we really need your feedback, and talk about that, right? I think that's also key to manage the expectation in that sense with your stakeholders. Otherwise, you always have this kind of pressure as a team. I don't care about the intermediate steps. I want the final dream, let's say. I want the final perfect picture. Why you showing me these steps? And I think that it's a little bit of a teaching from the team, right? And communicating. And I guess it's also highlighting in the following points, right? In a sense.
Totally. And I think that's why, though responsiveness is the most important, you have other factors that are, contributing to that. You cannot be responsive without, let's say, all the other factors. So probably makes sense for us to move on to one more. The second one that we saw is stakeholder concern, right? So we want to deliver as quickly as we can, but we're going to not be able to deliver if we really don't know what our stakeholders need or our end users need. So the second most important factor that comes from the research is stakeholder concern. That's basically the degree to which the team has an understanding of who their stakeholders are and what is it that they need. Okay. So this is the other side of the coin, right? If I don't know what my stakeholders need, I'm not being able to actually give them that as quickly as they want. So, so they go hand in hand with the frequent release.
I learned something.
So this is really important.
Sorry, Sam, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so
okay, I go.
Yeah,
thanks. So it's really important that you have a good partnership with your stakeholders and really know what they want, right? So
okay, I guess Sam has a little bit of delay, but I was remembering.
Just go ahead. I think my connection is too bad. Sorry.
No problem. I was remembering when I was working with this team, and a new developer joins. We are doing this software for customer support, let's say, and the new developer joins, and he says he was a really experienced guy, and he says, I don't know, the first couple of days, everybody is around him saying, okay, you need to install this, you need to install this database, this is the testing environment. And he said, oh, I would love to really go and sit this week with the customer support people. I want to see how they use what you guys do, or what I will be doing, right? Our software. So I would love to be sitting with them. I would love to see how they pick up the calls, where do they click, what's the working environment even. I don't want to read a document of someone telling me what's the story in the fourth floor where the customer support is. And he did. Was a huge change for the whole team. He was the second week go back to the team, let's say, and sharing all these insights that people working in this project for years and years had no idea. And we were just 2 floors under the customer support, right? We were just 20 meters away from them. And we had no idea. It was an amazing learning for everybody. Have this guy opening our eyes, let's say, and showing us what's going on with people using our software, right? So that was great, and that was a great learning experience for me also.
Totally. I have a very similar story I was working with a team of data scientists and engineers. They were building products, and their constant complaint is, oh, we build it, but our stakeholders never use it. And we really don't know. Probably they don't care with the products that we build. And we said, okay, fine. And we did an extensive exercise to really find out what was going wrong. What we found out was the products that they built, they didn't even have a proper UI. All of it was command line. It was easy for the data scientists to really pull out things, but when it really came to the end users, they really didn't know how to use the products, and they said, we find it so difficult. And that was like, okay. And next time what they did was they started putting the UI as the most important priority. Okay, whatever I build, I need a UI, otherwise people can't use it. So just some empathy to really understand stakeholders goes a long way in making your products usable, right? And there are so many things that we can do. We've just listed some of them. One of the things that comes to my mind is this traditional way of looking at product owner as the person who talks to stakeholders, and then that person brings in all the data from the stakeholders and gives it to the team, and the team works. And for us to really move away from that and to really involve the whole team. So you shouldn't have just the product owners talking to the stakeholders, but everybody. In the end, yes, the product owner is responsible for the product vision, but on the whole, there's always going to be shared ownership, that everybody in the team are able to really talk to the clients, understand their needs, and it's not just the product owner doing that.
Yeah, I also remember, I'm remembering looking at the first topic here, stakeholder focus reviews, how my friend Diane was asking the stakeholders to share their business updates, let's say. So it was kind of a two-sides review during the sprint review, the team sharing with the stakeholders, this is what we achieved, but also stakeholders sharing, okay, these are the things that we've been doing this week, these are the challenges that we've been facing, these are our ideas for the future. So it was a two-way communication, and that also changed a little bit the dynamic between stakeholders and team really understanding more about let's say the stakeholder concerns and challenges, right? So that was super interesting to see happening. That was great also.
Yeah, what I also like about that was also how it was focused on the stakeholders, in the sense we don't talk about the tech stuff that we do, but we talk about, okay, because we did this, what happens to you? What's the business value you get? And I really like that. If I'm going to be using slides, there's going to be in each slide, I did this, but this is the business value that you get. So it's clear how they can use it and how it's going to impact them. Okay, there's a lot, and I know there's so much that we can talk about. So, but we move on to the next one. What I want to quickly talk about here is that we are not ranking them. There is no rank at all. It's just there are 5 factors, and it's not that one is more important than the other. But the third one is continuous improvement. We've spoken about it. We have Kaizen. Also, somebody mentioned that. But this is basically a climate where teams take ownership of their improvements and they feel supported to do that, right? And it's interesting that the last 3 are kind of supporting stakeholder concern and delivering faster. So if you don't have the other 3, then the first 2 don't go faster. So you're more likely to focus on the stakeholders when you feel, you focus on continuous improvements. That's what it says. This also brings in team safety, it brings in trust, and all the other things that we've been talking about in the word cloud earlier. All right, so the question is, what can we do here? And there's quite a lot that we are speaking about. Manuel, is there something that you want to share, or can I go on with this?
You can go on. I'm going to share something when you finish.
Okay, great. So one of the things that we keep talking about quite a lot is retrospectives. Any agile coach says, okay, probably that's the most important of all the events that we have. But the question is, it gets boring when we start doing the same type of retrospectives again and again. What's important is that we also need to use retrospectives to focus on all the other aspects. So there is the product itself, then there are the people, there is learning and development, there's the focus on culture, on building the right kind of working environment, and there are wonderful retrospective techniques for each of them based on how well your team is doing. There's always a need for us to look at different parts and making sure that we improve on all of them. Of late, there's also been a lot of conversations around psychological safety, and I'm really happy that's happening, because what we've also seen through a lot of other research, that probably a psychologically safe team is one which will take risks, a team which will really go ahead and try to explore different things that they can do to delight their stakeholders. So that's something that we could also do. There's a lot of quick techniques that we could do. Probably the one thing that I would encourage if you want to do psychological safety is to encourage vulnerability, to be open, to allow people to really bring in their true selves. And that really makes a world of a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good point. What I also experienced, for example, is it's sometimes also good to have like retrospectives with your stakeholders and with people that you work together, because like only doing retrospectives within your team is great, but then you somehow exclude the people that you also work together, like even if it's just like unregular. But I had one team where we had like a bigger retrospective with all the stakeholders for like a time frame of like more than a year, because they had one feature that wasn't working so well, and they said, hey, let's have a look on the last year or last 1.5 years to really see like what happened. And for the people who joined like just a few months ago, they didn't know the whole history. So that was like I think it was a 2 or 3 hour session where like we had like 12-15 people all together and like, you know, sharing knowledge about the last year and beyond, and really like getting everybody included, and all the different knowledge from different people was really helpful to see like what they perhaps missed or what others have already learned. So it's also good to have retrospectives beyond your team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sam stole my anecdote, so I need to think of another one. But yeah, that worked great for me also, include other people. I really like this first topic to say, okay, let's think about something else, right? Not only what we do, but the culture or or people or relationships during the retrospective. I was thinking now quickly I can think of, because when my experience is, or I've seen many times that going into retrospectives and people looking for the perfect solution, and even worse when you have some very senior people or some sort of, like a leadership figure there, and kind of always looking for the perfect solution. And don't forget that at the end, what you are doing is just running an experiment, trying something, see what happens. Maybe in a couple of months or sprints, you look back and then you say, okay, this improved things or not, and then you go back, right? And I remember I was working with this team, and we have a very hard problem, let's say. We couldn't find a solution, and every retrospective is popping up, and every retrospective we are discussing and trying to find a solution, and we can't, and then it's bothering the team every sprint. So one good retrospective, I'll say, okay, we have this problem, I've been hearing from you about this, so I want you to write down the most ridiculous solution that you can think of. So don't give me a good solution. Don't give me the perfect solution, because we couldn't find the perfect solution. Just tell me something ridiculous that you think is going to solve this problem. So I can start, and I say, okay, I'm going to start saying, if we code wearing a hat, then a funny hat, this is going to be fixed. It's a ridiculous solution. Okay, so this is my first ridiculous solution. So we put all the ridiculous and funny and stupid solutions there, and then we vote on one, and we did that, and we say, okay, let's try this. I mean, it's free to try, right? We don't have to pay anything to try. And they were a little bit reluctant, let's say, but we did it. And funny enough, that solved the problem, and we didn't have the problem anymore doing this ridiculous thing. So I was reflecting and talking with them. We were looking for this perfect and elegant solution to our problem, and then came out of this bag of funny, ridiculous, stupid ideas that one good morning we had. So I just wanted to share with you this, because I think that sometimes we go into a retro with really a serious mindset and trying to find some perfect situation that is going to solve a solution that is going to solve our situation forever. And it's not really like that. It's just, let's try something, and let's look back in a couple of months, see what happened. We keep doing, or we try something different, and that's it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm reminded, Manuel, of the thing that you did with your stakeholders. I think Diane's here as well, where we said that, okay, stakeholders not coming to my review, what do I do? Hundreds of different things, but what they decided to do is send flowers to the
That
stakeholder,
was amazing.
and
Yeah.
then tell him that, okay, we miss you, please come to our reviews.
Yeah.
And then he
Totally.
just turned up in the next review.
Sorry for the sound.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Should we go to the next slide?
How was the flight back to Berlin?
Hello, somebody is not muted here.
Should we go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Shiva?
All right. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So number 4 is high autonomy. This is something that's a favorite for a lot of coaches. One of the things that we keep talking about also when we talk about what drives you, one of them is autonomy, right? And the question is, what is autonomy? I really like the definition here, where they say it's the freedom from external constraints. That means that I'm able to manage my own team, and the freedom from internal constraints. That means that I am able to do everything within my team. And Scrum in some way always talks about cross functionality. My team is such that I'm able to take any requirement and solve it and churn out the solution. So this goes very well with that. And obviously what Scrum and the research finding says that, okay, the more autonomy also contributes to improvements, continuous improvements. So better continuous improvements would mean better stakeholders concern and better releases. One of the things that we keep saying here is that, what can we do is that the team takes ownership of some of the stuff that they do. And when we talk about ownership, this would really mean, everything, including facilitation. So I've had teams where, they rotate their facilitation. Let it be reviews, it could be your daily stand-ups, or the daily scrum, as they say, or it could be facilitating retrospectives. It's not one person who does it, or it's not the agile coach or the scrum masters, but every team member. So this is one way in which we could make sure that the team manages things on their own. And there are so many other things that we can talk about.
So there's one story that I remember, like back at another company when I was working at, and it was the delegation poker method, and it was all about like shifting the power from like our boss to like the team, of saying, if you're responsible, then I don't need to like take care of that. So like if you have all the autonomy to decide on your own, then let's do that. And then we came up and said, okay, but we can't just like delegate like anything, right? So we came up and said, okay, which are the topics that we think we can be responsible on our own, and like on which delegation number, like from the delegation poker methodology, can we shift it? And we said, yeah, what about like going on vacation? And he's like, like if you make sure that there's always somebody here when some of you go on vacation, then I'm fine. So let's shift it from like the boss to the team. And we said, yeah, that's actually quite nice. So like we are responsible for like making somebody responsible when the others are on vacation. When we say, okay, these are my topics when I go on vacation, can you take care of them? And so on, right? So we said, okay, this responsibility is delegation level like 6. Say, hey, I need to be informed, but you are responsible. And for me, like this is one great method to work with teams together, and like the managers of saying, hey, which delegation poker level do we agree on, and like what topics are possible for the delegation poker topic, and say, it's not only the manager's responsibility, but also the team's responsibility, or it's even shifting from the manager to the team. And I think this is a really great method that you can use.
That's such a wonderful technique.
And just another question I saw from in the chat from Tobias, it's about like, can you share an example of a format for a retrospective that helps to create psychological safety?
Okay, so there are quite a few. Probably one of the things that you can do is to get started talking about it is, start. This is a big topic on its own, but let me start very simple. So there are 6 or 7 questions that I could probably share the link here later on, where you could really look at those 7 questions. My thing is that you put these 7 questions and ask the team to really talk about where we are in each of these 7 questions and have a conversation around that too, and that would be a good start. What is important is that it's important that you get the responses anonymously. There are things like, how helpful are you with each other? So there are 4 parts to psychological safety. This comes from Amy Edmondson, and also the survey comes from her. So you could use these questions to really find out where your team is and make it anonymous. Make sure that people are not, you don't know who's saying what in terms of rating. And then together as a team, you can really see that, what your scores are and why it is the way it is. And then have a conversation around that. This is just the beginning of it. And there are lots that you could do based on what comes out of these conversations. I will put in the link probably in the chat, or later on we share it with you as part of our email blasts. Okay, that's one quick way to start off with psychological safety, but there are lots of other ways to do it as well.
Yeah, could be a great topic for one session, right? Maybe we can take it.
Totally. Yes, I think it's been also asked in the past, and we should look at it and there's so much to it. It's not just one part of it, right?
Yeah.
And so we could really look at that in
Yeah.
depth. Wonderful. So, in the interest of time, I'm moving to number 5, management support. This is a favorite. Why is it a favorite? Because for teams, it's like, okay, it's not my problem, it's management's problem. And for management, it's the other way around. So, this is the ball that we throw around. But what's interesting is that it's important that the team feels that they're being supported by the management in the work that they do. And the research also says that Scrum teams are unlikely to become effective when they don't feel that the management has their back, or they feel that the management doesn't understand why we are working the way we are working. But what can we do? And we have a lot of interesting stuff that we've done here that we'd want to share. Where do we start? Manuel, do you want to go with the story, or do I continue?
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know if a story, but I was thinking or remembering one of my teams was, or we were actively making sure that our manager was on the sprint review, right? And support is something, in my view at least, support is something that you ask for, right? And I like this picture. This guy is on the water. He's not waiting until someone throws the help. He needs to be shouting. He needs to be saying, I need your help. And that's what we were doing in the sprint review. We had a moment at the end saying, okay, we need help to achieve this or that topic. We will need help with, I don't know, in our example, something that I can remember, we needed some licenses. There's no some approval that needs to happen. It's not happening. So then we go to sprint review and clearly highlight this and clearly say, looking at, let's say, the eyes of our manager saying, listen, we need your help. We need your help with your influence, let's say, to make this happen. Help us so we can be more efficient, right? And that worked well. We were always asking for help, and he was always supporting us. But he needed this, let's say, the team coming to him with something particular and punctual, right? So that's something that I can think of. Also remembering Shiva when we did this session with one team, we were working together, some sort of training, and the team wanted to try something after the training, and we invited the manager and say, okay, we did this training. This was, I don't know, 2 days training, a lot of learning. Now the team wants to do this. We want your support. This is a new way of working. This is a new approach that they want to do, and we need your support here. And he was open, right? And was great. He's saying, okay, for this and that, I'm all in. I'm happy. But this topic, I don't know if I would feel comfortable for this and that reason, right? There
Exactly.
was a nice conversation there.
Yeah, and that I think that was the game changer in a sense, because he was a VP, and the team was really worried that this is not going to make any difference if my VP doesn't want it, and I don't even know we should make any changes. And we said, okay, fine, let's get him in. So we got him in, and we said the team has concerns and it needs your support. And then we had a heart-to-heart conversation about what this means, the VP and the team. And he said, we need your help in this. If you think this will work, this will slow us down, this might not happen. Do you still want us to do it? And we might get this benefit. And then he said yes. And that's something that has really made a difference, because that team really then went ahead and made changes. So seek help, involve management in some ways or the other, makes a big difference. One of the reasons we also started the Agile Breakfast is to make sure that your stakeholders, your management people also understand what you're doing in some ways or the other. And we've been doing that in a lot of ways to have specific workshops, trainings, so that they also understand our ways of working. And that's very important, because a lot of times we assume that they know, many times they don't. So it's important for us to really also educate them. So these were things that we wanted to talk about with respect to management support. So what have we done? We've spoken about 5 things here. We spoke about, make sure that we deliver something as quickly as possible. That means we deliver things to a client, but also deliver based on what the client needs. That's the stakeholder concern. Then we spoke about autonomy. We spoke about management support. We spoke about continuous improvements. There are 5 factors. Now we come back to you, and then we ask you, there are 5 of these factors. If you're thinking about your company or your team, which of these factors needs more attention, or needs the most attention? And we ask you to go into Menti again, and here we have, it's the same code, and you could go and put in your feedback on this. So it's the same code, 24635368. So please go ahead and think about it for some time, and then vote on this.
Do you have your favorite Shiva here?
That's a difficult question. I would always, my favorite would be stakeholder concern. Probably that's where I'd start. Probably autonomy also, I'm not sure. This is so difficult, yeah.
Okay, we have one vote. You see my screen, right?
Yes, I do see a screen.
Okay, good.
All right, please go ahead and vote so that we also know what you're thinking.
Is everybody seeing the screen? Because I can't see your screen right now.
Really? So should I stop sharing so that probably people can see?
Ah, yes. Now I see it.
All right.
Okay. Okay, I guess stakeholder concern is the winner. I was all for management support. I was guessing, okay, management support is going to be the winner here as a factor that needs more attention. At least that was, in my experience, what I heard more. Teams saying, teams complaining, let's say, or in a way saying, "Oh, we need more management and support." Or managers don't understand our way of working, or they don't understand Agile or whatever. But yeah, that was my experience. Only I was thinking about that one. Interesting. Stakeholder concern is here in this group, number 1.
Yeah.
The good thing is that at least, I mean, it's easier to improve stakeholder concern, right? It's easier to influence that rather than management support. I would say it's an easier challenge.
I don't know. That's a difficult question to answer. It really depends on the teams and the organization. Yeah. But yeah, but what I get what you're saying, this is more in our control is what you mean, I guess.
Yeah. So you can really do much more about it. It's more in your control, I think.
Totally. All right. So should we just go back to my screen now?
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to stop sharing here, and you could go to your screen.
All right. Just give me a minute. I am now sharing my screen. All right. All right, so that's what we had for today. What we want to do, you could obviously refer to the article of the research. So we use the research as a background for us to really pick up the 5 factors, but we wanted to also share our experiences around that, our stories, our tips, which is what we did. But you could go ahead, read the article in Medium. They also have a proper research paper. If you're more into numbers, you could always go ahead and look at that as well. Probably we share this also on our chat, so you could do that. Do you have questions for us? Anything which you want us to talk about, clarify? I don't know if there's anything on the chat because I'm not doing all of it at the same time.
No, there's no question on the chat, but you can share, if please, the link on the chat so people can go to the article.
Sure, I would do this right after a conversation. All right. If there
I don't know if there's any question. Anybody is brave enough to unmute and share an experience or ask a question or share I don't know, an idea about this topic. Okay, no, I guess.
If not, then thank you so much for your time. We really liked talking about this whole thing. It's very close to the work that we do. So it's been very interesting for us to really explore this, share our experiences, our stories around it. What we would do is probably share the slides with you. You could also take a look at the whole recording on our YouTube channel if that's interesting to you. We'd also share all the links with you so that you could take a look at the actual research, so that that might make more sense for you. You'd want to work with us, we'd be happy to do that. So please write to us at agilebyexperience@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to help you in whichever way we can. All right, if there are no more questions, then thank you so much for your time, and we would see you in a month's time.
Yep, thank you for joining. Please share the link, Shiva.
Yes, I'm just stopping the recording and then we do that.